Hey everybody, how's it going? Aaron T-Bar Rift here to discuss the September 21st edition of Monday Night Raw, and I am almost at a loss for words, but I actually do have some things to say about this show. Shout out to everybody in the chat room for tuning in live. I do appreciate it. This will be an interesting one for sure. Please spread the word. Tell a friend. Share a link to this video. It's going to be fun. All right. Monday Night Raw. You guys ready? We kicked off with the signature open being hijacked once again, and Retribution kicked off the show. Why are they kicking off the show? Because they have been signed officially to WWE, according to the returning Tom Phillips. Tom Phillips is back. Still no Samoa Joe. Jerry Lawler brought back again this week. Why did Retribution get signed? Let me get this straight. WWE signed the guys that have been hijacking the shows for weeks, bringing in chainsaws. No reason given whatsoever as to why these guys were given contracts after they destroyed property. Remember when they threw that cinder block through the window and they were messing with the cables? No reason. No Vince or Stephanie or anybody to explain why these guys are being signed. Nothing. They're just signed out of nowhere. Anyways, they cut this promo. They talked about how they're done getting stepped on to grab some imaginary brass ring. Geez, I wonder if somebody got triggered by Miro's promo the other week. They talked about how they are going to rebuild WWE in the image of Retribution. They said all the people in WWE, they are the sickness, and they are going to make them pay for their sins. They said that the WWE superstars collect their paydays like a bunch of whores, and that was the exact term that was used by Dijakovic. And by the way, the guys were all wearing, the guys and gals, I should say, were wearing masks, but just the masks that cover the bottom part of their faces. You could see their hair, you could see their eyes, so even more clear now than it already was who the five are. Dominic Dijakovic, the main guy. We got Dio Madden, who was obvious. We got Mia Yim. We got Mercedes Martinez. And we have Shane Thorne as the fifth guy. But they were not acknowledged under those names. We found out the names for the three guys later on, and that's quite the doozy. Psycho Jet Black with the $2 super chat, first one of the evening. He says, what's going on with Mustafa Ali? He's on Main Event, wrestling Humberto Carrillo and other guys. Maybe he'll be revealed as the guy behind the group. Maybe he's the Smackdown hacker. They'll finally wrap up that storyline. Probably not, but you never know. And TJS with a $2 super chat says, you are a member of Retribution now. Amazing. All right, so let me just get to the names. I was going to wait till the end, but I'll talk about it now. The names of the guys. Okay. Shane Thorne, his name is Slapjack. Yes, Slapjack. And he wears a Friday the 13th knockout hockey mask, knockoff hockey mask, I should say. You have Dio Madden, who is now known as Mace. And Dominic Dijakovic, his name is T-Bar, which just happens to be my real legitimate middle name, T-Bar. I haven't posted a photo of my driver's license, edited out all the stuff you're not supposed to know, but my middle name is T-Bar, for real. And that is Dominic Dijakovic's name. Yeah. Interesting, to say the least. So anyways, the Hurt Business showed up, and MVP says they have no heart. They're not so tough without their chainsaws and weapons. Lashley says they're a bunch of kids hiding behind masks. Hey, he might be right about that one. Although we know who the guys are, but at least the shorter guys, the shorter members of Retribution. Because here's what happened. We had like 20 more Retribution guys. It's just like the NWO 1999. It's like you got the 5 main guys, the Wolf Pack, and then you got the Retribution B team, all the 5'5" people. That's where I would belong in the Retribution group. I'm actually 5'7", but yeah, I would belong in the Retribution B team. If T-Bar was going to be in Retribution, he would be in the B team. I'm just saying. Psycho Jet Black with a $2 super chat says, Latino World Order is more over than Retribution. I'm going to say this right now. Aces and Eights are more over than Retribution. This is Aces and Eights level terrible. I mean, I would say even worse than the Dark Order. Like, for a couple weeks, I was kind of on the fence about it. I wasn't sure if Dark Order was better or worse than Retribution, but it's gotten even lower for Retribution now. Now that we know the names of these guys, I am just at a loss for words here. And T-Bar, my buddy T-Bar, Dominic Dijakovic, has a Bane mask. Bane even trended on Twitter because of that. So he's got this Bane knockoff mask. You have Dio Madden Mace with a similar knockoff mask. And then you have Shane Thorne with the Jason Voorhees dollar store mask. What the hell is going on here with this show? This is more WCW 2000 than WCW 2000. This is like 5 versions of Road Warrior Animal when he was the mystery man right before Sid got hurt at Sin. So we had the B team, not the actual B team, but Retribution B team coming out to the ring, and then T-Bar and Mace did the double choke slam to Bobby Lashley. Oh man. I can't even fathom what the creative team, i.e. Vince and Bruce Pritchard, are thinking with this. I really don't know. So we had our first match of the evening, which was Angel Garza and Andrade against Seth Rollins, Murphy, and Dominic, Mysterio, and Humberto, who actually got on Raw for once. No Zelena Vega with Garza and Andrade. You had the Street Profits on commentary. The winning tag team in this triple threat would get the tag team title opportunity at the pay-per-view. Now, if you were hoping for something different, we've seen Garza and Andrade against the Profits multiple times already. So if you were hoping for something different, tough shit. You did not get it. What happened here was Murphy needed to tag out to Rollins, but Rollins took off. He had more important things to worry about than the tag team titles. So way to bury the tag team titles here. Seth Rollins cannot even care about going for the titles. And Garza hit the wing clipper to pin Murphy. And yes, again, at Clash of Champions, we get Garza and Andrade against the Profits for the titles. But hey, this time, Garza and I guess the hook for this is that Garza and Andrade do not have Zelena Vega, so now they're better that they don't have her because she was the problem. I mean, I guess that's what we're supposed to think for this match. But yeah, another rematch. We had Shane McMahon backstage, and he said he's going to be on the KO show to promote the upcoming fight between Braun Strowman and Dabba-Kato. Yes, Shane McMahon has to be on the KO show to promote this, because we weren't already aware of how epic this match was going to be, this fight, I should say. So you have to have Shane McMahon come out there and talk about it some more. We had another backstage promo from Retribution. They said that the Hurt Business could have been part of the solution, but instead they're part of the problem because they line their pockets with WWE's money. Time out here. I thought these guys signed contracts. Like, if they're complaining about money and WWE guys selling out and lining their pockets, what are these guys doing? Why would you sign a contract? You're getting paid by WWE now. So how are you any different than the Hurt Business? Who wrote this storyline? Like, it makes zero sense. I do not understand any of this. Like, did a 5-year-old write this? Seriously. I think like an average 5-year-old could write a more logical storyline, quite frankly. So they said that these wrestlers in WWE, they will pay for their greed in Retribution. There you go. We had the KO show, and Mike B with the $2 super chat says, did Retribution kidnap Ken? Probably. I mean, Ken, terminated by Google, has disappeared. Maybe he finally just got fed up with Monday Night Raw and he lost his mind and he's in some kind of insane asylum somewhere. I mean, I think we're all going to end up there pretty soon at the rate things are going with WWE programming right now. Shane McMahon came out for the KO show, and of course the history between them was brought up, but KO said, hey, 2020, it's been a weird year. You're damn right, KO. Owens said it's water under the bridge, and tonight he's going to let Shane do what Shane does best, and that's promote. He is a McMahon after all. And Shane said he wanted to sample the goods for everybody. They brought out Daba Kato, and then Owens brought out his special additional guest for the KO show, Braun Strowman, and the two big guys had a face-off, and Shane's like, the fight is only going to happen at Raw Underground. It cannot happen in the ring. If they touch each other, the fight is off. Why is Strowman not going for the Universal title? Like, if I lost the World Championship, I'd be focused on that. I'd be pissed off. I would not be fighting some jabroni on Raw Underground. And as this was going on, Aleister Black attacked KO from behind and busted his balls, literally, just pulled his legs into the turnbuckle corner, the ring post. Drew McIntyre did a backstage promo talking about his match with Keith Lee, another match between them, of course. He said that if you're not competing for the WWE Championship, you should not even be there. So he understands Keith Lee wanting to pick a fight. And he said after he beats Keith, the drinks will be on him. We had Retribution attacking people backstage again, including Humberto and a couple other jabronis. And they cut another promo, said that the WWE stars are a sickness, and they, Retribution, this was T-Bar talking, by the way, said that they, Retribution, they are the judge, jury, and executioner, I should say. We then had Drew McIntyre versus Keith Lee, and the stipulation was that since Randy Orton has not shown up, if Lee wins the match, he gets Orton's spot at the pay-per-view. And I think we all pretty much knew how this was going. Randy Orton would show up and, it's going to be McIntyre versus Orton. So, back and forth match here between the two of them. And then Drew hit the Claymore. He was on the verge of winning the match, perhaps, when Randy Orton ran in with a steel chair, causing a DQ. He went after the jaw of McIntyre that he injured a few weeks ago. And then Randy Orton gave a punt to Keith Lee for good measure. Poor Keith Lee. I mean, I know people are going to defend this saying, oh, he's in the main event, he's fighting Orton and he's fighting Keith Lee. But this is like the fourth match that he's lost now by DQ. He's been in like 6 matches on the main roster, and 4 of them have ended in a DQ up to this point. It's getting a little ridiculous. I mean, whatever happened to Keith Lee just coming out and beating up some random guy in a 2-minute squash match, and you can establish him with the fans and build him up, just like how you built up Goldberg or built up Ryback or built up Strowman in 2016. Like, there's pretty effective ways to build up a monster besides having him in there with the top guys, and since you don't want either guy to look bad, you just book a bunch of DQs. But what do I know? I'm just T-Bar. We had Randy Orton cut a promo after the match. He said shame on the people for thinking that he would not make it. Seriously, did anybody out there, anybody watching this or anybody in general, did anybody think Randy Orton would not show up on this edition of Raw? I mean, come on now. Orton walked up to the ambulance, which was there, I guess, to promote the match, and he said that when he got taken away in an ambulance due to McIntyre, he remembered exactly what he's capable of. And he said that the ambulance represents his 14th world title, and Drew's title reign is going to flatline at the pay-per-view. TJS with a $2 super chat says, Keith Lee called up to be a plot device. I hate it. Well, I think after Orton wins the title, if he does, Keith Lee will be the guy to fight Orton, or maybe Keith Lee gets drafted to SmackDown. I don't know. I figured Keith Lee would come in and feud with somebody like Lashley first and maybe win the U.S. title and build him up that way, instead of having him. Yeah, he's getting a rub off of Randy Orton and Drew, but clearly WWE doesn't want to book any decisive winners, so it's like counterproductive. The game is on 100 with a $2 super chat. Says Keith Lee is being a Roddy Piper who doesn't lose. I highly doubt that Keith Lee has any say in the finishes. Roddy Piper would just not put over people because he was very protective of his reputation. Keith Lee, I very much think, is a company man, and if they asked him to jump, he would jump. We had Asuka interviewed. Billie Kay confronted her, but then Peyton Royce showed up and said she wanted an opportunity at Asuka. Billie Kay basically started to back away and sided with Peyton, saying Peyton should get the title match, and that was set up for later on. Shanti with a $5 super chat. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Says, you merely adopted the dark. I was born in it, molded by it. And that's a quote from Bane. Maybe we'll see T-Bar use that line on next week's show, or a very similar line. And Kadeem Gomez with a $5 super chat. Thank you for that. Says, Aaron Riff's cats are more over than Retribution. I mean, come on now. That's a given. My cats are more over than probably 95% of the WWE roster at this point. And before people say, oh, that's not true, go on youtube.com/Aaron Riff. Some of those videos have millions of hits. Does Ricochet have a video with millions of hits? I mean, he's not Roman Reigns. Show me a Ricochet video that has 20 million views, and then I'll tell you Ricochet's more over than my cats. We had Zelena Vega versus Mickie James, the winner getting a championship opportunity at Clash of Champions, and Mickie cut a promo before the match saying she never gave up, and she's never going to give up, but she did end up losing to Vega. Not by submission, but via the backstabber. And you had all this big match and everything in the storyline last week, the interview segment. They are going to face off at the Clash of Champions kickoff show. Yes. Raw Women's Championship on the kickoff. And Psycho Jet Black with a $2 super chat says, T-Bar more over than the local jobber Ricochet. Yes, very true. And Carl is here. He says, take a shot every time Aaron says T-Bar. Now, does it count if somebody super chats the term T-bar? Just wondering. Yes, Zelena Vega won, and she's facing Asuka at the pay-per-view. Backstage, Hurt Business started beating down the Retribution B team members to build them up for the main event, which was going to be a 6-man between Hurt Business and the Retribution A team members. We then had a Bianca Belair vignette. She was in the PC, and she kept outshining this random dude. Like, she could lift better than him. She could do all sorts of things, tip over the tire better than that guy. She just totally outshined that poor fella. Then we had a 24/7 title segment, which was filmed earlier in the day at the beach. Tozawa decided to hide in the ocean because he knew R-Truth was coming out to enjoy a day on the beach. And all of a sudden, a shark appeared. R-Truth dropped his championship. Tozawa took off. Truth had little Jimmy help him find the championship. And then R-Truth said that Tozawa got devoured. So I guess Tozawa's dead. He got eaten by the shark. And hopefully that's the end of the 24/7 title. Why couldn't the shark just eat the championship and then we could be done with it for good? Dumb segment here. I did not laugh once. And I'm sure somebody in the chat or somebody will leave a comment saying, you have no sense of humor. You do not find things funny. I do find things funny, just not this. We had Apollo Crews with Ricochet against Cedric Alexander. For some reason, Cedric comes out to his old music, even though the Hurt Business has their own official music. MVP cut a promo before the match. He said they are the executioners, not Retribution. Cedric then talked for a little bit, said that he's going to get back at Apollo for all the months that Apollo held him back. Apollo came out with Ricochet and said all he cares about is punching Cedric Alexander, and he still hasn't forgotten about Bobby Lashley. I guess they're having a U.S. title match on the pay-per-view. I do not really care, quite frankly. These two had a match, and Cedric hit his Michinoku driver, which Apollo kicked out of. Ricochet then taunted Cedric, and Apollo took advantage of the situation, rolled up Cedric, and picked up the victory. And then after the match, the rest of the Hurt Business came down and they beat up poor Ricochet and Apollo Crews. We had the first Raw Underground segment of the evening at the 10 o'clock hour. Dolph Ziggler beat up some guy. There was some woman there, Brianna Brandy. She interviewed Strowman. And Strowman said he's going to send the fighters home to mommy with their teeth. Blah, blah, blah. Again, why is Strowman so obsessed with Raw Underground instead of trying to get back his championship? The most prestigious championship. Well, I guess that's the WWE title. Maybe the AEW title at this point. Rollins came back to the ring earlier. He left Murphy high and dry because he had bigger fish to fry. He had an envelope, a mystery manila envelope, and he put up a photo on the big screen of the Mysterio family. He said, something's up here because you see Ray is, of course, much shorter than everybody else, especially Dominic. He said he did an investigation, and he got a DNA test. So everyone's thinking 2005 with Eddie Guerrero, right? Rollins invited the family to the ring. Ray was pissed off. He said he's tired of the mind games. Rollins then said, I got to tell you guys the results of this DNA test. Seth Rollins then took out the, results and said, Rey Mysterio, you are not the father. But there was a potential swerve here. Maybe not Dominic, but perhaps Ray's daughter is not the daughter of Rey Mysterio. That's what he was implying here, perhaps. And Rollins said he had concrete evidence that something's going on here. And he showed a clip from last week when Ray's daughter was checking up on Murphy to make sure that he was okay. Ray was still pissed off. He said that his daughter is just 19 years old and she knows nothing about their world in WWE. Didn't she grow up on wrestling? Wasn't she part of an angle in 2010 with CM Punk? I could have sworn. So I would think she knows about their world. And clearly she took offense to this because she walked off and the mom walked off. And I think most of the viewers walked off. Rollins said he's sorry, but had to do what needed to be done. And yeah, this was quite the train wreck of a segment, I must say. Speaking of train wrecks, we had Natalya and Lana, more so Lana, versus Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax with the Riot Squad on commentary. Quick match here. Lana tapped out to the clutch from Shayna. And then after the match, we had a confrontation between the challengers for the Raw or the WWE tag team titles, whatever. And for a final example of what the Riot Squad are getting into, Nia Jax took Lana, and no, this was not a repeat of last week, like as far as a replay goes, but it was a repeat. Lana gets the Samoan drop through the announce table, just like she did last week. So yeah, I think WWE may be a little bit triggered by Miro's promo. You just know, if anything, I think we're going to get more insults at WWE. I know people out there are like, oh, AEW just takes shots at WWE all the time. But when WWE reacts like this, it comes off like they're triggered by it. WWE should not do anything to give people the impression that they are mad about the comments in AEW. Psycho Jet Black with a $2 super chat says, Ray's daughter is more over than Retribution. Well, yes, very much so. Very much so. And the other thing about this is, why not do something different? If you're going to destroy Lana, then bash her head in the steel steps or do something else. Like, do you really have to repeat the same exact spot from last week? DYEV with a $5 super chat. I appreciate it very much. He says, every Psycho Jet Black donation's a more over than B, B more over than C, C more over than EC3, LOL. Wow, it's been a while since we've had an EC3 reference. I guess when you go into Impact Wrestling, you're totally obsolete. At least in WWE, if you're a nobody that gets recognized. Mike B with a $2 super chat says, how long before Lana is featured endeavored? I think he meant future endeavored. Who knows? I think it's really hard to say at this point as far as Lana goes. I mean, I would be shocked if she's there for the rest of her contract. Apparently she has several more years left. We had another Raw Underground segment, which was Eric versus Riddick Moss, which Riddick Moss picked up the win. So not looking too good for poor Eric at this point, with Ivar out of action for a long time due to neck surgery. It's going to be a rough road ahead for Eric. I feel bad for the guy legitimately. Rey Mysterio's daughter had a backstage segment. Her name is Aaliyah, by the way. So I got to start getting used to calling her Aaliyah. She told her dad, who might not be her dad, Rey Mysterio, that she doesn't need to be protected. She was there for one reason and one reason only. The classic line there. She's there to support Dominic, and she walked off, pissed off. And then we had Drew McIntyre, who had ice around his jaw area. He said he's going to pick a fight with somebody. I was wondering, is this Aleister Black he's going to pick a fight with? We had Asuka versus Peyton Royce. Not much to say about this match. Peyton got a few near falls, and Asuka put on the Asuka lock, but then Zelena Vega came in for a DQ. Clearly another match where WWE did not want to book a decisive winner. They want to protect Peyton for the time being until they give up on her. Vega came in, and then she fled the scene, so yeah. Another pointless segment to build up a kickoff match. Don't care. I have little to no interest in this Raw Women's Championship match at Clash of Champions. Kadeem Gomez with the $2 Super Chat says, T-Bar? More like Twix Bar. Man, I sure could go for a Twix Bar right now after having to sit through a 3-hour Raw, that's for sure. And TJS with the $2 Super Chat says, Seymour, the house is on fire. Help, help. That's a little reference to The Simpsons from the episode with the Krusty Burgers and Skinner bringing over Superintendent Chalmers to his house for a nice meal of steamed clams. We had Braun Strowman versus Dabo Kato. I could go for some steamed hams right about now, that's for sure. Strowman versus Dabo Kato, and after all this buildup, guys, okay, so get this. WWE hypes this up starting last week. They even have Shane McMahon on the KO show, and it's like a 2-minute segment. Strowman wins, and that's that. So yeah, pretty lackluster segment here after all the hype. I mean, if there was no hype for it and they just did it and Strowman beat him, whatever, still would not care. But they hyped it up big time, and that was the payoff? Really? Psycho Jet Black with the $2 Super Chat says, T-Bar versus Booker T for the letter T match. Oh, don't give WWE ideas. I mean, WCW already did that, but yeah, it would not shock me if WWE did some crap like that at some point. We then had our main event segment, which was Retribution versus the Hurt Business. The Retribution logo popped up on the screen. They came out with no music. They started pounding on things because they're angry. They're angry young men. And not much of a match, really. I could not get into it. I mean, the costumes are ridiculous. Dio Madden's is okay, but the Bane mask and the name, of course, T-Bar, and Slapjack's the worst of the three. Clearly, Slapjack's going to be the guy that takes the falls in these Retribution matches. The finish here was just ridiculous. So Slapjack was in trouble, and T-Bar broke up the attack, which led to a DQ. Even though T-Bar did the attack on the apron, don't you have to actually get in the ring and there's a 5 count before you're disqualified? And it doesn't even apply in 99% of tag matches anyways. Guys just come in and the referee loses control. But this time, you have T-Bar attacking the guy when he's not legal on the apron and he gets DQ'd. First time that's ever happened in a long time. I'm pretty sure, at least. After the match was over, the B team, Retribution B team, came out, jumped the ring, 20-on-4, whatever it was. But then Drew McIntyre and the rest of the Raw roster came out to make the save. And then Randy Orton came into the ring, hit the RKO on Drew McIntyre. Everybody was dead on the outside. All the Raw guys, all the Retribution guys were all laid out, dead on the outside as Randy Orton stood over Drew McIntyre. And that was the end of Monday Night Raw. Holy cow, guys. This was rough. Like, I wasn't bored with the show, but this was very much WCW 2000, where you watch it and you're intrigued, but you're like, this is the worst thing I've ever seen. I mean, this was just the definition of a train wreck, to a T, Bar. So as far as a letter grade goes for this, I have to go with a D. Have a delightful summer. Reference to The Simpsons there. Although now summer's over. We're actually coming up officially on fall here in about 20 minutes. So I hope you all had a delightful summer. But yeah, this was a pretty awful show. Like, if you want to torture somebody, you would tie them up in a chair, not a comfy chair, maybe one of those steel chairs. Tie them up in a steel chair and make them watch this show. No bathroom breaks, no Twix bar, nothing. You just got to sit there and watch Retribution with their silly Aces and Eights style costumes. Actually, I think Aces and Eights had better costumes, quite frankly. So yeah, I give this show a D. Nolan Wright with a D+. Shady Snake with an F-. Wow. More Faves with an F-. Bruce with a D. WCW 2000 better than Raw today. And CC Drink with a D. Dr. NXT Scorpio with a D. J-Spin 401 with a D-. Harley gives it an F. And Mike B with a D- and the throw up emoji. Michael Gonzalez was a little bit more generous. C+ for Riddick Moss. All right, how about that? Mo Camera says no rating because this show sucks. Well, Mo, there was no Roman Reigns. So therefore, you got to give it a better letter grade. Me Custom says he's surprised I did not give it a T. You're right, I should give it a T for terrible. So yeah, that's all I got to say. I've said my piece about Raw. Next up on the agenda here on NoDQ.com and the YouTube channel, we will be doing our predictions for Clash of Champions. I do not care about this show for the most part. I have little to no interest for the most part, but we'll be doing the predictions 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific Tuesday. And then Wednesday, hopefully things pick up. I'm sure they will with AEW Dynamite, Smackdown, and No DQ review maybe later this week. Subscribe if you haven't already. Turn on notifications. Tell a friend. Stay tuned to NoDQ.com for the very latest. And I will see you guys. Hold on. Psycho Jet Black with a $2 super chat says, why is your middle name T-Bar? So this is the No DQ Encore because I'm going into overtime here. My dad gave it to me. My dad was a musician. There's a guitar that's known as the T-Bar guitar. Hence, he gave me the name T-Bar because it was a reference to the T-Bar guitar. So there's your answer for that. I'm out for the night. Thank you guys again. Take care. Be safe. Stay positive. And I will